All right. It looks like everything's working. Let's see. It says we're streaming. I have my second monitor, by which I mean my laptop, and it is streaming, so it looks like everything's good. All right, so hello everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is July 26th. This is the July 26th Text Quest Devstream. So, I have a couple of updates to go over, and then we're going to jump into some of the zone stuff again. The big thing that I have changed since last Thursday, because I did not stream on Saturday, um, I have gone crazy with our custom inspector stuff for the zones, to the extent where it's actually pretty nice. Um, so I have individual zones that can be created, and I've actually allowed you to color code them. So, for example, if we look at our Castle Throne Hall, it is set to be blue. And you'll see that we have this blue box around here. And if we actually deselect our castle, so it gets rid of the mesh selection and all of the audio selection stuff, you'll still see that we have these bounding boxes calculated. Actually makes everything very nice and easy to distinguish. And I am thinking, and we might do this on the stream tonight actually, of making these semi-transparent when the object is selected, just to make it a little bit easier for you to see through the clutter. Because, while it might be okay to see the outlines here, when the actual castle base is selected, it kind of makes it a little difficult to see properly. Um, but you can color code these, so you can change these colors very easily. If I wanted to make this zone purple, I could. It's that simple. And you'll notice that it will actually change this color right here in the bounding box to make it very easy for you to understand which is which. And that's just done by toggling this little toggle right here. And then we can actually specify extra padding or even ignore transforms. And for the most part, let's go to the Castle Throne Room. For example, this ignore transform section here for the Castle Throne Room is actually set to ignore the carpet and throne room transform floor, or throne room floor transform, because you'll notice that they extend really far outside of the actual throne room, but we don't necessarily want that for the zone. Um, so we can simply specify, don't include these in your bounds calculation. So that way, when it actually does everything, it's confined to basically all transforms except those two. Um, and then the extra padding actually lets us give sort of a little bit of extra width or height or depth as needed. So if we wanted to, we could actually add, let's say, I actually think we want to go over here. We're going to say 5y, and if we say update, you'll see that our hallway zone has gone up by about 5 units. And of course, we can zero that out again and then hit update. That'll get rid of all. So those are the really big updates since last week. For the most part, I was focusing on getting this stuff to function in an easy way. And in terms of the actual environment stuff, like the hint system that we've been working on, there is a little bit of an issue that I have run into, and that is that I still have not been able to come up with a good way to get sort of things to examine properly. Um, Hello, Garrett. Things are going well. Got fancy zones working. So originally the idea of the hints, which quickly turned into the sort of examine area system, is that if you're in a room, you want to be able to say examine room or examine surrounding. Um, and it would be nice for the game to give you some feedback on the room you're in. However, it's it's not exactly a very intuitive system to use. So, for example, let's say that you were in this hallway to start out, and I guess we'll just go ahead and drop in the player to make my point. So let's go text quest, prefabs, and I think we're also going to fix this tonight to make it a little easier to spawn in. So we're going to say this, play. How have you been, Garrett? I was almost rude. Well, I was actually kind of rude, but I forgot to say it. But I remembered. I caught myself. So what's going to happen is, I'll spawn in at the starting point, which will be in the middle of this hallway. And if I wanted to get some feedback on this area, I would say examine and it should say something like examine room or examine hallway. But that sort of word that I would use to describe this is different from, say, you know, ooh, what happened here? That's interesting. I think we have a null reference there. Oh, well, isn't that curious? All right, first error of the night. Sneezy. Ah, yeah, allergies suck. Although I guess while we're here waiting for that to update, we can turn off our freaking second camera. There we go. All right. Click on this. Oh, wonderful. It's a pull request, so... Wait, what? Does this mean that my sound manager, like, freaked out? Whoa. Okay, that's super weird. Huh. I must have deleted that, I guess? That's really weird. You know what? I wonder if it was just, like, something that was lost when I did a little house cleaning. I didn't even think about that. Okay, well, that's fun. It's a good excuse not to stream. I suppose. Yeah, I mean, you never really want to talk if your, like, sinuses are nasty and whatnot, because then you can't really talk clearly. And speaking of talking clearly, you'll notice that my audio is unchanged, because I actually am using my old mic. I have a new mic that I want to try out, and I have it set up, but it's not quite up to snuff yet. I need to do some tests with it to get it, positioned properly. Because right now I have it hooked up to a terrible place right next to my computer, and the computer's fan is making noise in the background. So I need to like really do something about that with the new microphone setup. Okay, so let's go to resources, global, and then sound manager. So we don't have a sound source. So I guess I'm going to fix that real quick. Sound source. Oops. Sound source. Has an audio source. Do all this stuff. Let's make it 3D. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't think I have to add anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go to TextQuest, prefabs, and I'm not entirely sure what I'll do, so I guess I'll call this MISC for now, so for miscellaneous. Probably should go in environment or something like that, but just put it here for convenience and I'll organize it later. Alright, so I'm going to stick this back in global sound manager. I must have deleted that a long time ago or something. It's weird. I don't remember consciously doing it, but I don't doubt that I did. So yeah, back to the whole zone thing. Since I went back and I played like Zork and King's Quest, just to get a sense of how they did that sort of stuff. And it kind of turns out that they didn't really. There we go. So I'm kind of at a loss at how to, properly handle it. It's not exactly an intuitive thing, because like what I was saying in here, you might be able to say examine hall, and it should make sense. So I could say like examine hall, and obviously this isn't going to work yet, but it would make sense to call that a hall, but maybe not necessarily this room, and definitely not the side rooms. So I'm not entirely sure how to handle it. Because, you could say examine area or examine surroundings, but those are all really cumbersome to do. And you can't just type look because, again, as we've established, it doesn't really make sense for it to just assume that you want to look at the environment. It should treat it like anything else, where it should ask you what you want to look at. I'm not entirely sure what I should do to fix it, honestly. Well, it's not fixing it, it's setting it up initially. So, until I can find such a solution, we might switch off of trying to get the hint system to work and instead move on to doing stuff like We might focus a little bit more on the zone stuff still, just to get some use out of that, because I put in the time for that system, and it's useful for other things, such as level trigger or level. I can't talk tonight. Level triggers, or I don't know, heat maps or something. So let's go ahead and stop playing. Oh no, my laptop went to sleep. That's weird. It's never done that before. Okay. I'm guessing it's because I muted this. That's weird. Okay. So even though we do have the stream stuff working or the zone stuff working, I don't think we'll be able to do much with it right now. I definitely do see it being very useful in the future, but I just I can't think of a good way to use it right now. Although real quick while we're here, I might do this. Oh, wrong thing. Level manager. So these bounding boxes for the zones are being drawn in what's called a gizmo, or drawn as what's called a gizmo, which is drawn through the onDraw gizmos function. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say if this dot transform dot. Oh right, no, it's the stupid thing selection. Ugh. Okay, let me think. It's actually going to be Unity editor dot selection, or no, yes, dot selection dot. I believe it's active selection, or I guess active game object. Or is it active transform? I guess they're the same thing, which is really weird. Is equal to this dot transform. Then we're going to do something else. Else we're going to say well, that's not great. I guess we'll actually do this. Oh, I can't win there. Dang it. Oh well, I'll just, I guess, do a compilation thing here. So we're going to say if Unity underscore editor, and if. So this is a compilation specific command, which means that this function will only be compiled if we're in the Unity editor. And I'm just going to say basically this same code. And we're going to say draw cube. And we're going to say times new color 1F, 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 and then, I don't know, 0.25F. All right. So once that compiles, we should be able to actually select this object and have it be semi-transparent solid cubes instead of semi-transparent wire cubes. Exciting. It's exciting to me. And I guess anyone who has ever done, or who has never done editor stuff might find it interesting. It's definitely a very good, useful tool, or it is a very useful tool for keeping track of where things reside spatially. So if I select this, there we go. So you can see, ooh, I do not like that. That's, oh man, that's pretty bad. Wow, okay, I might have to change that to do something real quick. So I'm going to say only times 0.5, and then I'm going to say bounce size times 1.1 F. That should work, I believe. So just make the bounds a little bit larger. That way we don't get that Z fighting. I didn't even think about that. That's a really nasty side effect of that. All right, so what we might do after we mess with this is probably look at, there we go. It looks a lot nicer. And that's only if it's selected, so it's actually kind of, yeah, it's not too bad. Probably want to do like 1.01. aside from that. There we go. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff that I could do. There's a lot of art stuff that still needs to be done, but I think I might hold off on doing that on the stream. It might be more interesting to try detecting when the player enters the zone, or if the player is in a zone, if they reside in the zone. Just to see if we can do some contextual stuff. Oh, you know what? We can do that with, there are some puzzles that I've been thinking of that involve being in a certain place. And we've sort of done that with, that's disgusting, really. Wouldn't even make sense. Wonderful. What's it even Z fighting? Something is Z fighting here, and I think it's just, it's the door. Damn. That usually wouldn't happen, I suppose, but for the most part. Alright, so let's save that. And real quick, actually, before we do that, I'll talk you through something I've been thinking about. One is we need to fix this issue where if we just hit play from here and I don't have the hero prefab dragged in, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to, have the base of the level in there. Nothing exciting. But what we can do is say, we have this special compilation command here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say on level complete false, which means that it won't autosave when start happens. However, we don't want that to happen for every level. So instead, we're going to just do this. We're going to come up here, and we are going to say private static bool initialized equals false. I'm going to come down here, and we're going to say if initialized, or if not initialized rather, then on level complete false, and we're going to say initialized equals true. And I'm actually going to set this to be public. And the reason for that is because if we come over here to, let's see, what is it? Splash delay. We're going to sort of game the system here because splash delay is the very first script that executes in the game. It sets up, the level or the splash screen that shows that while we load information for the save state and whatnot. So while we're here, we're just going to sort of sneak in a level manager dot initialized. Dot initialized equals true. And the reason we want to do that is because this script will execute before the first level loads in. If we didn't do this, then when the first level loads in the editor, it would actually spawn the player in the background of the main menu, which we do not want. So I'm going to give this a try, and that should be a quick thing to do, quick fix, and then we can move on to doing the zone stuff that I was thinking about. So one of the things that I've been sort of thinking about in the back of my mind for a long time is basically having the player stand in specific areas and doing specific things. And I've sort of roughly done that with colliders for the most part, which may be fine. That actually probably is a little more preferable, I guess. But if I can come up with a system that allows me a little bit more leeway. Oh, right. There we go. Yeah, I was going to say, what was I testing? It's like, oh, yes, the player spawning was what I was testing. Okay, so hooray. I don't think I'm going to have to change over again. I won't have to keep dragging the player prefab in. But to test this, let's try just doing no clipping real quick. Let's fly through all of this. And alright, so now let's see what it looks like when we go to the sewer. It should be spawned in just fine. Uh-oh. Okay, that was weird. Don't know why it took so long. God, that really awkward having toggle for running. Start. Sweet. Ah. And just to be sure, let me pause, and yep, there are not two heroes. Haha! Okay, so that fixed that issue. Makes it really easy to playtest again. Hooray! Okay, so we're going to switch scenes real quick, and we're going to show you two areas. Actually, I guess I'll show you just the one area for now, in which it's important for the player to be in a certain part of the level. So we're going to go to Overworld, Plains. And of course, the irony is that right now it doesn't work, because it's been so long since I've been back to this level. Oh dear. Look at those substances. Pea soup green. Well, it's a good thing that I don't actually need to go to the plains. I need to go to the canyon. So, hopefully the canyon... of course not. I was going to say, hopefully the canyon textures aren't messed up. It's like, oh no, yes, of course they will have to be. God, why do the substances always look so weird? I'm going to hit play anyway, just to see what happens. See, and the weird thing is, like, this actually probably would make an interesting aesthetic if this was intentional. Oh! Okay. Oh, yes, and clearly we have to rebake our light maps for this. Good God, it's super bright. Okay, we're not going to worry about that now. So, it's actually important for the player to be on this platform in order to do a specific action. So the idea is that you're supposed to go to the forest, pick up a sword that's, in the middle of the forest, then come back here and hold it up or wave the sword. And that will activate this shrine base, which will turn into a staircase and lead you down into the underground area. So obviously we can't have, the sword being raised over here work. We have to make it work up here. And how we've done this in the past is just with colliders. And for something like this, it probably makes sense. So let me go ahead, and I'm actually curious if it's still here. It might not be. That would be really weird. I wonder if... No, that's the level transition. Huh. I kind of feel like my trigger went away. Interesting. Unless I disabled it. Nope. Well, there we go. Unless I have something else here. Nope. Man, I could have sworn that I... Alright, well, I'll just make it to show you what I mean. So what we did before is we would have, say, a game object with a collider on it. Just a regular box collider. Or I guess a trigger. And we would just have that positioned, roughly in the center here. It would cover, I think, the entire base, honestly, because I didn't want to have it be like, you have to stand in the exact center pixel. Because that would be terrible. And I'm guessing, really, 15? No, that's too much, 12. That looks about right. And Y is probably 5. Close enough. It's actually pretty abysmal. So it's closer to what? Probably like 14 and 14. Or maybe even 14.5. It's fine. 14 by 14 is fine. And let's say X is 22.5, roughly. And there we go. That's pretty much all you really need. I guess I could go like, I don't know, Y of 4 and Y of 2.5, maybe 3. This is completely unimportant, but I do it anyway. So, basically what would happen before is that the player would walk into this trigger, and we actually had, I believe it was called, let's see, use item. Yeah, use item zone. So it would take a specific ID, which must, no, that's not right. Oh wow, this must have a lot of old code in it, I guess. Um, oh yeah, this had a lot of old code in it. Okay. Whew. So basically, it would take your target item. It would have a data ID that you would reference. It would have a specific use type, whether you could just use it or if it had to be equipped. And then an output type, which declared if it was the parser, so would it get shown in the parsing menu or the input menu? Was it for the HUD, so would it show up in your HUD like a darkness warning or something like that? Or auto, which would just basically detect if whichever one was open and then show it there. Um, but for the most part, you know what? Actually, I might just need to update this because the base system itself is actually pretty solid. Um, hmm, but it probably could have some extra stuff in it. Okay, so let's take a look at this code because this is really old. I wrote this a long time ago. I think this was probably written within the first year of development, so it's probably kind of nasty. Yeah, we get all the cached inventory stuff, which is, let's see. So we're looking for an item, and do we have anything that derives from this? Find references. Huh, so it does. So yeah, all of the, this is basically the base class that we used for um, the, the sewer level, actually. Now that I think about it, I completely forgot about that. We can show you that. That's actually a scene that's been set up. So we go to our intro, sewers, and then sewer level. Sure, we can save, because that's all stuff that needs to be there later. Um, if we look at our sewer, we have this sort of area before the troll that if you walk up to the troll with the goat mask on, it will actually freak out. And where did I put it? Zones, here we go. So we have this colliding or this trigger area that if you walk into it with the goat mask, it will trigger a cutscene, and that will have the troll actually run off and do its thing. So I guess we don't even really need to update that system. Dang, I had pretty much a terrible list of things that I wanted to do tonight, and they were all already done, or they were done terribly, or they could not be solved very easily. Go figure. Well, then we can always, let's see, minimize this real quick, and I'm going to take a look at my notes. Let's see. Let's see, most of that's done now. Entering darkness is handled. Man, even my backup stuff is complete. Well, let me think real quick. What could I do that would be interesting on the stream? Well, I could either work on some of the updated art stuff, which I don't like doing that on stream because I always feel like it's boring for you guys. Or I could start the next battle, actually. That might be interesting. Although it would require a level. We can do that. So let's go ahead and start setting up, I guess, the battle for canyon, cabin, not woods. Here we go. So I'm still working on this level. Oh yeah, right. We don't want to do that here, do we? Let's make a new level. Let's see. I'm going to create a folder. Call this combat, or combart, apparently. Oh, nice. Just shipped your game on itch.io. I'm going to delete this folder because it's useless. How's that been for you? Have you gotten much traffic or much feedback on it? I guess we'll call this base. I don't remember how I did this for the intro. Sewers. No, I guess I didn't. Fair enough. So I just won't worry about this then. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to get rid of directional light. Get rid of this. Let's save this out as Nod Woods Combat. Drag that up here. All right. And we should have, let's go to our models, levels, overworld, Nod Woods, chunks. Okay, so this is the old stuff then. Wonderful. And I'm guessing Dark Forest. There we go. Section 4. Oops. Drag this in. F. So there is our sort of spider area. This is where you would find the spider in the overworld. So let's drag in some of our substances. Substance, overworld, plains, grass. Drag that in. Drag in our dirt. Drag in our grass again. Ta-da! And then we're done. No, not really. Although I do sometimes wish it was that easy. Let's see. Too early, really. I'm in the process of telling everyone and sending out emails to YouTubers. Alright. Be so happy when I can stop doing this marketing crap. Yeah, that's the worst part about game development, at least in my opinion, and I assume most game developers' opinions. No one likes to do it. For good reason. It's terrible. It's really, really just awful. Okay. So, I'm going to pull in... Should I duplicate my other scene first? I don't really think I should. Because it shouldn't be that bad to set up. Let's go ahead and add a new game object. This is going to be our level root. So we're going to say Woods Combat. Add a component. Combat. TQ Combat. Let's see. Combat info. Oops. Base level ID is going to be Nod Woods. Base spawn ID is probably going to be, I guess, Forest Plains for now. Combo text, that's all fine. Sprites. Right, this is all stuff that needs to be set up. Attack areas, again, everything needs to be set up. And nice. And I guess what we can actually do is we can say add new scene, I believe. Or not. Let's just close this. Remove scene. There we go. So there's a... I can't remember how to open a scene. Game object, no. There should be a way for me to do this, and I just can't remember how. Select scene asset, maybe? I feel like they changed how this works. Because I could have sworn that there was a way to just, like, drag it in. Maybe that's all I need to do. Sewers. Sewer combat. There we go. Okay, that's not too bad. Alright, so we're just doing this so that we can pull in our... where is it? Our battle canvas. Pull that in over here. And that's probably all we really need. Although we can probably pull in the sprites too for convenience. And that's particle effects, cutscenes, audio. Yeah, okay, so that's all we really need. Let's go ahead and discard changes. Make sure that everything's still there because I don't want it to have all that. And then remove scene. Alright. So we can actually pull things in now, put it all under everything like it should be. And there we go. Aha! See, I knew that the level was super small. It looked super small, and I was right. All right. And I mean, this is just a placeholder level for now anyway, since the actual level has to be remodeled in Maya and all that. So let's say level. Da, da, da. Pull this in, put it right there. Sprites, battle canvas, all that stuff's fine. We are going to need a camera. So we're going to say camera. I guess we'll keep the audio listener on there. And let's put it under here. Call this battle camera. So this one is going to be a little different just because of how the level looks. If we actually go back to Nod Woods, and hopefully we still have everything in there because I'm going to need to turn it all off. Level, good, we do. Turn these guys on. So, in this level we actually have a sort of round area with a spider in it. And a grossly overscaled spider web for now. And the spider itself is, wedged between these two trees. So we're going to actually want to have sort of a skewed view of it so that you can see the spider and see what it does and all of that. So, real quick, let me make sure that I have spider web. No, that's not right. Model. Okay, good, I do. I wanted to make sure that I had the texture for it. Let's go back to our combat. Don't save. Alright, so we're going to get our battle camera. Let's position this. I'm going to say rotate 90 degrees. Move it out and up and out and up and out. And then let's move the level up by 1, or I guess 0.5. Hard to tell without lights and shadows. Crossing reference detected. Hero combat group in sewer combat. I really hope that that's a thing that I just didn't notice until now. So, okay, we have our level positioned. Light's not baked, which is fine, because it's kind of going to look a little bit off. But what we're going to do is we're going to change troll combat. So there's the burp particles, which we don't need, I don't think. So we're going to change. We're going to get rid of the burp particles. We're going to change this to. Let's find it. Here's our combat. Here's our giant spider. I'm going to duplicate this, move it up here. And let's see, because these need to change a little bit. Call this combat. They usually need to be rescaled just slightly, and you obviously can't have two scales for them. So we're going to drag, guessing 0 in should be fine. Ooh boy. And that was why we did this. So this is probably going to be 64, I'm guessing. Oh no, way more. 16. Ooh, okay, fine, 32. There we go. That's a little bit better. Call this spider. So there we go. We have our giant spider. And I think what we're going to do for this, because the spider is a lot larger and the environment that it's in is a lot larger than what the troll was, we're actually going to want to sort of zoom the camera out a little bit more. So let's say x of -6 probably, and a y of 3. And while we're here, let's go ahead and grab spider web. Put that in, and it is clearly way too big. So let's change this to 32. It's still too big. Let's go 64. Hit apply. That is a lot more manageable. Okay. I'm going to drag this in. Oh, I already did that. Ugh. Need a drink. Oh, man. Feeling a little bit out of it today. Don't know why. Okay, so we have our spider web in there, and this is, of course, going to be fun, but we can actually sort of cheat the system and have this be 0 and our spider be 1. We just need to make sure that our giant spider always draws on top of our, I don't know why I can't think of it, spider web. It literally says spider web on it. So we're going to rotate this negative 90. Let's put it up here in sprites. And we're going to position this probably somewhere like about here, I want to say. And I think we're going to go closer to negative 75. No, that's still too much. Let's go negative 60. No, that's still too much. Negative 30? That's actually a lot closer. Okay. Let's go to lighting, get rid of our default skybox. We actually want none for this. Alright. We're going to change our camera color. We're going to say, I believe the actual forest has this sort of orange tint to it. It's like this pale, so it looks dark and dingy. Our battle camera there. We're going to change our spider combat from negative 90 to negative 30 to match. And then we're just going to... They lined up too well. Damn. I guess we're going to say negative 3.5 or 0.75. And then 3 or 4. There we go. And then we're also probably going to want to change our spider web to use sprites unlit, I believe. There we go. That way that it's a little easier to read the giant spider. Although we might have to... might have to change the color on the spider web to make it a little bit more innocuous, I guess, because it's really, really blatant that it's there. And we'll also want to flip it in the x-axis so it's actually readable. So let's, maybe if I do transparency, not too bad, but I think I might just go, not really helping, is it? Might go some semi-transparent too, so like 120 looks about good. And this is all just sort of to, bump up the legibility of spider. Let's see. It's a little bit larger too. Okay, I feel like I should probably move this over a little bit. There we go. And I kind of want to move the hero to the left. So a little bit farther away from the giant spider, which gives us a little bit of a more, I don't know what the correct word is, a sense of scale for it. It feels a lot larger because we're zoomed out. Let's go ahead and grab a tree. Tree is probably fine. Just drag this in here. Oh boy. Those wonderful, wonderful lighting effects. Alright, so I'm going to double this tree's size. And this is all, again, approximation. Oh, that might be too big. 2 by 2 by 2. But this is actually an interesting problem. There's a lot more clutter in this scene than there was for the sewer. So things are going to be fighting for attention. attention, I feel. And not in a good way. They will definitely be distracting more than anything else. So stuff like, the leaves and the giant spider and whatnot, those are really messing with each other. It makes it very hard to properly focus on what you're supposed to be focusing on. That is not good, is it? Because, I mean, I could zoom these trees up a little bit more. And they do feel massive, but they're also just front and center. It's weird. It might be okay if we do this. Let's go to our level real quick. I'm going to drag the trees in there as well. And I'm going to 15 by 15 by 15. Yeah, that might... Yeah, it feels a little bit closer to what it would be in the game. The sense of scale seems right. But at the same time, I'm going to turn off my light so that we can look at it a little bit easier. It still feels sort of scattered. It's not quite easy to focus on what's going on. Now, some of that might change when we get into motion. Once we have the giant spider scuttling around and the player running around. But it's a real problem, I think. Let's add some lighting real quick, like rough lighting. We'll call this lights. Or lighting, I guess. I'm going to create a light. And I believe it's a spotlight. Baked is fine. And what we're going to do is say... what is it? 90? Seems right. Move this way up here. Although I guess I can also just, shorten it. But let's do real time so we can see the changes in our game view. And angle 45. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the range. 10. Oops. This up. And intensity, let's say 5 for now. That's not great. Range from 9, looks like it's going to give us everything we need. Not exactly crazy about that. So we do have this nice spotlight in the center, which gives us focus, but let me try, let's go to level tree. I'm going to try rotating this by 45 degrees. That feels a little nicer. Let's move it back just a little bit. Not bad. Okay, so we have our enemy in place. I do think I want to move the camera over just a little bit. So let's have it slide over by 1. See, that's... I think my spider web might be too big. It's distractingly large. So let's go ahead, let's go back to our sprites, go to spider web, select this, and I'm actually going to duplicate this, do what we usually do. And we're going to say combat, I guess props would probably be better. Props. Let's move this up to combat. Let's duplicate this. Drag this up here to props. And we're going to say, call this spider web combat. I'm going to replace this right here. So for the most part, it's going to be unchanged until we actually start scaling things up. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 96, which should be like 1.5 times as large, or I guess like 1.5 times as small. That looks a little bit more manageable. So let's slide this around real quick. Let's go to local. Let's go down. That's pretty nice. But actually, it might be that our battle camera. See, our battle camera has a field of view of 60, which is fine because you're not moving, I suppose. What happens if we make this 90? Oh my. We'll make it 60. Because again, we don't have to show too much, honestly. Distance of 500 is plenty. Probably even 300 is cool. Okay. Save this. And I still feel like our trees aren't the best for this, but it might be okay. So again, I'm going to rotate this by 45 degrees. We are going to shift this up. And see, this one, 45 degrees, is actually not a good idea. So let's try changing this to be 15, I guess. That's not too bad, just because it gives us a nice clear view of the word tree. Although, crap, it does hide the spider. Dang it. I do kind of like this, but it also puts unneeded emphasis on the tree. There's just so much space that it takes up. It takes up, what, probably I don't know, a sixth of the total width of the screen? That's pretty bad, actually. And then, of course, if we switch to, say, 16 by 10, then all of that ends up getting cropped off even more. I guess that could be fixed by moving the battle camera back. So I move it, and then I move it right back. Let's see. This is the fun part about combat, is setting up the camera in the precise position that you want it to be in. And, you know, before, in the troll scene, it's actually set up to have a bit of a curve, or to have a bit of an angle. So if we go back to that, we can go to battle. Actually, not sure where I keep the camera. Right there, camera positions. It's got a rotation of 100, which is probably actually just because of how the scene ended up being. So that kind of makes sense. But it's not a perfect 90 degrees, so we actually have a 10-degree difference of sort of looking at it head on. So let's see what that would look like back here in Nodwoods. Battle camera. Let's give it 100. And then we slide it over by 1. Yes! Okay, so that actually works really well. Because that puts emphasis on the enemy. By having you face the enemy slightly more, it lets us give more space in the level to the enemy, because the player side is not as interesting. You know, you're the player. You know what you are. You know where you are. You're more interested in what you're fighting. So this lets us look at the enemy rather than looking at both the enemy and the player. So that's not too bad then. Let's go to our level again, tree 1, and let's just rotate it a little bit more. So right about here, let's go to 50 degrees. So 50 degrees even. Let's go to local. Or global's fine too. Move this in, move it back just a little bit. Okay, so we want it to be right about here. There we go. And then the second tree needs to be just a little bit further back, I think. There we go. So now we have both trees in there, but the right tree still feels too prominent and obscured at the same time somehow. Because, you know, even though it's there and it's obviously the exact same size as the other tree on the left, it it feels, I don't know, it feels like it's getting cut off, which I mean, it obviously is, but it's noticeably cut off. Let's go ahead and move the spider over to, and this is another problem. The giant spider is brown, and so are the trees, which is not good. Well, let's go to this tree. I might have, yeah, there are two types of trees. I'm not sure which one we want. Let's go ahead and grab these things. Okay, so I'm going to select these guys, and I'm going to swap this for tree 2. There we go. That makes, well, nope, that actually doesn't help too much. Dang it. So the giant spider was originally black, but then I changed it to brown when I realized that it was a black giant spider in a very dark forest. So you couldn't really read out the words. You could see I and N, but you couldn't see giant and spider, which is problematic. So, great. To make this work, I would probably have to change its color. Or at the very least, I would have to darken this material, which I guess I can sort of do. I'm going to like darken this a little bit. Make it pop out. Because this is all old materials and old models that we're not going to use in the future. But we can do rough block placement for now. All right. Oops. All right, so that makes things pop a little bit better. So we need to make sure that our trees here have darker colors. And let's see. I feel like we should probably also darken our sky even more. Right about there. Which honestly may be where it actually is, because it's pretty dark when you actually play this level. And this level of lighting isn't actually that bad. So let's shrink down our level again. And we got to move our player. And possibly even our regular battle canvas, actually. Because our spider, since it's rotated now, it's not, perfectly flat 90 degrees. It feels further back, and obviously that's because it actually is further back. So we need to move our player accordingly. So let's move 1 in this direction, which lines up pretty well. And let's see what happens when we run over here. So this is where the player would sort of collide with the giant spider. We're going to set our player to be, I don't know, 2. And probably all of the equipment to be. Really? Okay. So these should probably be 4, and the head should be 2, I guess. Or 3, sorry. There we go. So now it's always going to draw on top of the enemy, which is what we want, because you're the player. You're the most important thing in the world. Let's hit F. And then, that doesn't look too bad. And what's probably actually going to happen is our spider will come down to about here when they attack and go up here, which could be an interesting combat mechanic, actually. The spider's position changes sort of what can happen. So we might even have a, if the spider is up here, you can't actually do anything to it. And if the spider's down here, you can attack it. So either here or here. Ooh, that might be interesting. Okay. So, you know what? Actually, TQ combat. I think we're going to have to do a new folder for this. So, spider. Create spider. Spider combat. actually start doing some code changes. Hooray! Back to code. Let's get rid of this stuff, close all this stuff out since it's not really that necessary anymore. Splash delay. Okay. Oh, and fun fact. I was talking about zones that you use item in earlier. The giant spider also has a zone like that. You can get past the giant spider without fighting it by using a specific item, which sounded way more impressive until I realized that that's also how you get around the troll, which, I mean, makes sense. It's an adventure game. You use items all the time. All right, so we're going to come back here. We're going to say namespace. Oh, not just text quest. It is now sleepyowl.textquest. All right, and then we're going to derive from TQ combat. Sweet. All right, so we're going to say public. This is the interesting thing, I guess. So that should do all the combat stuff. But how do we want to handle? I guess it would only have 3 positions, so high, medium, low, or high, middle, low. Hello, Pyro, or iPyro. Just played the demo and the game is really good. Well, thank you. Did you play the one on the website, I assume? I mean, technically that's the only one that really exists. But, because the one on the website is actually from a year ago, so it doesn't have combat in it. But I really should. I should update that stuff. I have those demos. I could release them. That probably would be a good idea. But because I enjoy hearing feedback on the combat system, and it's not in the old demo. But thank you for playing and thank you for enjoying it. And actually, I wanted to. Oh, what was I going to ask? Oh, it's the old demo, so I can't really ask that stuff. Dang it. Well, I guess thank you for enjoying it. Or playing it, and you said you enjoyed it, so. Man, I'm just everywhere tonight. I lost my train of focus. Oh, right. The level stuff. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say public transform. Put it on itch. I've been thinking about it, but the problem is, like, it's too early. And I'm not saying that, like, it's not ready. It's too early because I don't have even half of the content ready to go. I mean, the stuff is roughly there, but it all needs to be updated and redone before it's at a level of quality that's acceptable. And I feel like putting it on itch is just... It would blow any chance of it actually, like, having attention, because you only get one first release. And if you release early, some games that works, if you have a multiplayer focused game or some procedurally generated focused game that can change from gameplay to gameplay, but not really for something like Text Quest, which is heavily linear. Well, not heavily linear, is heavily single player with I mean, there's replay value in it, but it's a different kind of replay value than something like procedurally generated stuff gives. And hello, 18 Markwick. Good to see you again. You don't want to spoil it. Yeah. That's pretty much why I've held back on doing stuff like early access or anything like that. Because it's a good idea for some games, but other games, it is not a good idea. So even though I would kind of like to do it, it would not work for Text Quest. Let's see. So we have a high point, middle point, low point. All that stuff's fine. I don't think we need to do anything extra there. And let's go to TQ Combat real quick. And, for the most part, I think we're in a good spot. I just realized. I'm curious what's going to happen if I hit play right now. Not because things will probably break. I think. I'm legitimately curious. I'm also quite curious as to what this player attack is, because it's just kind of there, and I feel like it shouldn't be. I should probably delete this. Weird. All right. So our battle canvas also looks like it's in an appropriate spot, although it can probably scoot back a little bit. So let's say position Z negative 0.75. Oh dear, no, that's not quite correct. 0.25. So that stuff's correct. Where do we want it to go? Weird. It's Z, but it's in the x-axis. That's super weird. Okay. Let's say 0.25 for the x. Does it have a rotation? Oh, it does. Okay, that's why. That's probably about right. I might even want to move it a little bit further in, like 0.5. Well, even 0.75 might be right. Yeah, that looks a little bit closer. It's centered on the giant spider, and it is also closer to the player character. Okay, so we have our woods combat. We're actually going to remove this, and we're going to do spider combat. Cool. And then let's hit play. Something's going to break, and I want to see what it is. Oh, really? Oh. All right. Well, never mind. Hooray. Totally thought something was going to break. Combat info, sprites, attack areas, cutscenes. Okay. So let's go to sprites real quick. We can hook up that stuff at least. So we have our right equipment, left equipment. Yes, that's all fine. Head equipment and our actual player. And then, of course, we have our spider. Okay, so the sprites are all set up, which is nice. Attack areas will be the same as they were before, so player attack point, enemy attack point, and current attack point. Except I guess, actually, attack area is the preferred setup for it. Joy, oh joy. All our wonderful cutscenes seem to be correct. Obviously, we don't have any cutscenes set up yet because I haven't done that. We just started today. And so we have combat info. Base level ID is going to be not a woods. And all of this will be Forest Grove. So that's all fine. Cool. So that's actually pretty easy to set up again after we move everything over, which is nice. Let me think. I feel like the giant spider, might not even really have projectile attacks or anything like that, which is good. I guess, no, it doesn't need them. It's probably going to be like the troll where it's all physical attacks. So no, spitting acid or anything like that. But we will probably have to open up for more player types of attack. Joy, oh joy. Okay, so we have an interesting problem here that I put off because I knew it wasn't an issue for the sewer troll. And that is that the giant spider actually comes at a point in the game where you could conceivably have more than one weapon. Specifically, you can have one weapon, which would be your hero sword, which is what you see right here, or you could have nothing equipped. And of course, you can also have, like a lantern equipped, or I guess if you're in Sierra mode, you might have one other item that you would have equipped. But all of these things are items that you should technically be able to wield in battle, and therefore they should have their own cutscenes. Oh boy, that's not going to be fun. So we're basically going to need at least 3 or 4 cutscenes of the player's attack, because they would need to change based on what the player is wielding at the time. So a attack animation for the player that's barehanded will probably just be a headbutt, similar to what the sewer troll did. While a cutscene with the sword would probably be like a jump strike, something a little bit more fancy, I guess, for lack of a better term. Um, so that's gonna be fun. We'll have to set that up at some point. Probably not gonna do that tonight, just because that's obviously a very, very time-consuming thing, and I think we're just blocking out the scene, trying to get a sense of what looks right. So let's go back to sprites. Let's move our hero back to where he should go. Over here, probably. And let's see what this looks like in 16 by 9. Looks fine. I gotta remember to always test this in 16 by 10, 16 by 9, because those are the two aspect ratios that I support. Although it would be quite amusing to try and do like a classic 4 by 3. I think I'm going to just stick to 16 by 10, 16 by 9 for now. Let's see. So that's the base of the scene set up. Let's go to, let's move all this stuff up. Let's organize our hierarchy a little bit. Cameras. This up. Place our battle camera here. And then we're going to have, I guess, logic, for lack of a better term. And we're just going to have 3 things here. So, high point, or high spider point. If I can type, which I can't. Low spider point. And middle spider point. Alright, so we're going to debug this because I don't want to bother writing a new editor for it right now. High point, midpoint, low point. Alright, go back to normal, hit save, let's open this up. Okay, so let's drag this over here so that I actually can edit this. Work with me, combat. There we go. Da, da, da. Okay, so in addition to those, we're also going to need some new cutscenes, which would be, oh boy, we're going to need 5. Let me think. We're going to need middle to low, middle to high, low to middle, low to high, high to middle, high to low. Okay, so 6. Off by 1. And that's for the spider's movement. All fun. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to paste 6 of them. Oh boy. Just so many. 2, 4, 6. Good. And then of course we're going to have using Cinema Director. Alright. So we're going to say high to mid, high to low, mid to high, mid to low, low, not load, low to high, lowercase l, low to mid. Okay. I suppose it should say, yeah, plays when the spider moves from high position to low. And I'm just going to copy this whole thing and then, cut and paste because I'm kind of lazy. Gonna take off. Alright. Thanks for stopping by, Garrett. Plays when the spider moves from high to low. This is actually high to mid, to middle. From mid to high, middle position to high, middle position to low, low position to high, middle from low position. Cool. And then of course we don't need these comments. And I don't think we really need anything extra. Most of it's covered by the base class, which is good. Let that go. Oh man. This custom inspector stuff. Let me think. Well, let's go ahead and do some of that. So TQ combat. I'm guessing it's just called combat editor, honestly. Combat inspector. Combat editor. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to edit the base editor for just a quick second. Oh dear. Okay, this is fine. And what I'm going to do is, let me see. I need level info, I think. But I don't need much besides that. I'm going to copy this color real quick. Yoink. Because I don't need, I need materials, ambience, and I don't need items, and I don't need menu cameras, hints, or zones to show up. So, let me see. Let's go to definition real quick. And what we're basically going to want is draw script field. Let's go to combat editor. I think we're just going to want to do this. I'm hoping that most of this is, not too exclusive or set to be private. So far, so good. And that's pretty much it. Let's move this to here. Get rid of this. Say okay. We'll come back here. That should get rid of the items, the hints, the menu cameras, and the zones, all of which is fine. Once it compiles magically and Shazam. Compile. There we go. So now we only have relevant information, which is nice. We can go to combat info, all that stuff's still there. Great. And that's the nice thing about this custom editor stuff is that you can cut off, anything that you don't need. So let's go ahead and now we're going to add a new combat editor. So we're going to want to go to Spider Combat. Where are you? Base editor. Why would I put it there? I guess I'll just have an editor folder for each one of these. Not too bad, I suppose. Create C# Spider Combat editor. Let that compile for a second, then we'll open this up, reload all. And I have some text from work that are going off. Hooray! Always when I'm dev streaming. So we're going to say namespace sleepy owl text quest. And then before we do any of that, we're going to say using Unity editor. So custom editor type of spider combat. This is going to be derived from TQ combat. Oh. Alright, it's just called combat editor. I always forget. Alright, so we're going to say protected, override, on enable, the base stuff obviously, then public, override, on inspector GUI, base stuff should be fine. And then of course we're going to do our usual serialized object.update, serialized object.apply modified properties, and then we're just going to say private serialized property m high point. Let's copy this stuff over. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So midpoint, low point, M, geez, high to low. Oh boy. So high to mid, high to low, mid to high, mid to low, low to high, low high. Alright, so we got all those fun things. And we say m high point is equal to serialized object dot find property. And then we're going to just basically copy and paste this 7 more times. 1, 2, oh crap, I forgot the semicolon. That's embarrassing. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. And I think I actually want 9 because 3 plus 6 is 9. Okay, so high point, midpoint, low point, high to low, or high to mid. I can't type tonight. High to low, high to mid. Why did I just repeat myself? Mid to high, mid to low, low to high, and low to mid. Alright. So let's let that compile real quick. Dang it, really? Spider combat. I thought I fixed this. Apparently I didn't. Advanced save options, Windows, File, advanced save options, Windows, all that stuff's fine. And I think we're going to have a shorter Devstream than usual tonight, because we have everything blocked out for the most part. I think once we just get the stuff sort of popping in the editor, then we'll probably be fine. It doesn't look like we had any null references. So we're going to say private void draw spider info, private void draw spider cutscene info. You know, which I just realized it was kind of pointless for me to do this. Dang it. Instead, what I probably should do is just have, instead of high, middle, and low points, since I'll have cutscenes playing, I should instead have probably an enum value here. Let me think. How would I want to set this up? Man, how would I want to set this up? Because it should be positional, and it shouldn't really care where it is. It should care what it thinks it's at. Huh. All right. Well, I think I'm going to end up making this an enum. So let's just say to do make position and enum, and then we're going to come down here to our combat editor. We're just going to say draw spider cutscene info. If custom, oops, right. I want to say using sleepyowl.common.editor. If custom editor utility.draw header, I don't know, we'll say 10, the string value. Spider cutscenes. Oh, you know what would probably be good is if I actually change these. Because it would be entirely pointless to just change these things, or not have these things actually reflect their real values. Alright. Let's come back down here, and we're going to say editor GUI layout dot begin vertical editor styles dot text area editor GUI layout dot end vertical. Apparently I cannot spell end tonight. End vertical. There we go. And then we just have a pretty basic thing of doing editor GUI layout dot property field this new GUI content, and we just do this 2, 3, 5. So copy this stuff over. M high too low, M mid too high, M mid, oops, dang it, M mid too low, M low too high, M low too mid, high to middle, high to low, middle to high, if I guess, middle to low, low to high, and then low to middle. Okay. So we should get that drawing in. So it should pop up right below cutscenes. Shazam. Haha! So there's our high to middle. And there we go. Wait, it's missing something. Why is low to middle not showing up? That is not correct. Ah, there we go. Let me guess, I spelled it wrong. Yep. Culprit of 9% or 90% of those errors is I just spelled something wrong. Although it's funny, I spelled the variable wrong, but I spelled all of the string references to it correct. Go figure. Life's funny like that sometimes. Alright. And there we go. So we have our spider cutscene showing up now. Not bad, not bad. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that I think. Oh wait, you know what? Actually, ah, well, we might just go ahead and do this real quick. So we're gonna say public um, enum spider position derived from byte high equals 10, mid is equal to 20, and low is equal to 30. And then we're going to just go ahead and get rid of these guys because our our cutscenes will take care of all of this. And then we're going to say, I guess, private spider position current position is equal to spider position dot mid to start off. So we can actually get rid of the whole high point, low point stuff, which cuts off some nice chunk of code, which is pretty decent. Probably should have private serialized property m start point. Oops. All right, so we want to move this guy down here. And we're going to say public spider position start point is equal to spider position dot mid, and then we're going to say m start point is equal to serialized object dot find property start point. There we go. And oh yeah, probably should draw that. Draw spider info. And we're going to say if custom editor utility dot draw header. We're going to say 5. We're going to say spider info. Spider info, or do I want spider combat? Spider info is fine. Spider combat info. And we're going to say editor GUI layout dot property field m start point new GUI content start point. Okay, so that should pop up between cutscenes and spider cutscenes. And then we should be able to adjust what that value would be. And there we go. Nice. So one quick thing. I think we're going to end here tonight, though. Dot begin vertical editor styles text area. Mostly because I'm feeling kind of editor GUI layout dot end vertical. And I think this is just one of those dev streams where I kind of meandered around a little bit too much. It's not that we didn't do anything. We actually got some nice debugging done, but it's just nowhere near as much progress as I would like to have done. I feel like the giant spider combat was like a Hail Mary. Kind of I couldn't really think of anything else to do. Alright, so all this stuff's set up, which is nice. Alright. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for tonight's dev stream. It's a little short. It's only about an hour and 40 minutes as opposed to the usual 2.5 hours. But we got the player spawning in at the start now, which is very, very nice for me because I don't have to worry about constantly dragging the player character in. We have some more of the zone stuff in there, which is nice. We changed how that works. Yeah. So we'll be back Thursday, and I will figure out a more interesting thing to do on Thursday. If not something new, then something to do with the zones that will be a little bit more interesting. We might start doing art again. Because I enjoy doing that. I just always feel bad doing that on the stream because it's not the most visually stimulating thing to look at, which is kind of ironic considering that it's art. But it's a lot of technical art, and it's a lot of me going, hmm. Um, all right, so I think that's gonna do it for the dev stream tonight. And yeah, so as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.